Well, I popped into a party, a couple of hundred supporters who were down, and spent probably about 3/4 of an hour there, but went home, a couple of bits of coffee, checked some emails, and then back on the 7:41 from Strood into St Pancras, and in to get sworn in Parliament at 9:30.
Why? What was so important about it?
I'm the first MP to be sworn in on a Friday for 57 years, someone told me. I wanted to debate and vote on the NHS bill today. I was asked by the Labour candidate during the campaign if I would. I gave a commitment to come in and vote for this bill to stop privatisation and fragmentation of the NHS, and I wanted to keep my word. And actually, Medway Labour, they really helped in terms of pulling out all the stops to get this organised procedurally. So
it does seem a bit strange that UKIP is so anxious to oppose privatisation when Nigel Farage and the previous manifestos have talked about bringing in the private sector and the insurance sector into the NHS.
Well, I think UKIP's grown up as a party. We've a proper policy process, and UKIP as a party, we've decided, the NHS is what we back, free at the point of delivery. I mean, for my own side, my father's a doctor, my mother's a nurse. I'm committed to the NHS. We've had big problems with Medway Hospital in my constituency. I want to turn that around and make sure.
Does it need more money, the NHS, in your view?
Well, last year I helped get an extra £6 million into the NHS in Medway, and money may be part of it, but I think there have been problems with management at Medway Hospital, and under Labour it was made a foundation trust, so it was set loose from the Department of Health really to manage itself, and that was just done on the basis of a box-ticking exercise and looking at the finances, and ignored the fact that 1 in 10 more people were dying than should be expected at the hospital.
If I could, well, flatter you, I suppose, for a moment, we now have 2 grown-up politicians representing UKIP at Westminster rather than European Parliament, which perhaps is a bit more fringe. What are the tactics from here? What are the expectations and the aims in the general election, for example?
Well, I think we'd like to broaden UKIP policies that we get across and people know about. So, for instance, during the campaign I've just fought, I was emphasising that as well as getting power back from Brussels to Britain, UKIP at least as much believed in getting power back from Westminster politicians to our local communities, because we're one of the most centralised countries in the world. And on health policy, I was in debate today with the Shadow Health Secretary, the Minister, half a dozen other MPs intervening me. UKIP was at the centre of debate on the NHS. And
what should you be trying to do at the general election? I mean, obviously you want to get people elected, but you're a realist, you've got limited resources. I mean, what is a decent target for the UKIP parliamentary party? Well,
we're aiming to hold the balance of power, and I think part of that is getting people to know your policies and having an elected health board for the NHS in Kent and Medway in our case. I just think that would give oversight and unity of management and accountability for the NHS. So at the moment, there's this alphabet soup of bureaucracies and regulators. We do away with that and have a single elected health board, and I think that's a real different policy in the NHS that would make it do what the public want.
And if you do hold the balance of power, would you consider entering into a coalition government?
I think probably what we'd want to see is sort of confidence and supply, a much looser arrangement. Our priority would be getting a free, fair, in-out referendum, and that's what we've been negotiating for if the numbers allowed.
Because if you look at it, look at the experience of the Liberal Democrats,
it's not a happy one, is it?
It's sort of easier in a sense to pick up protest votes or people who are unhappy without taking power. Once you take power, you can be held to account.
Yeah, but we have MPs at Westminster now. We're going to have a full programme, and realistically, our target is to have the balance of power in Westminster. And I think what will also happen is I think we'll see probably across swathes of Northern England UKIP in second place, pushing Labour close like we did in Haywood and Middleton, just 600 votes, 3,500 people, and unfortunately still wasted their votes on the Conservatives and let Labour in. And I think what we'll see then is very large movements of Conservative voters over to vote UKIP as the opposition and the opportunity to beat Labour.